Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Every year in the United States, more than 1 million people start their own business venture, according to the Small Business Administration. This means that millions of people are enthralled by the spirit of entrepreneurship every year. But what happens to all of this euphoria once a company has passed through the entrepreneurial honeymoon phase? The E-Myth Revisited investigates the reasons why so many small business ventures are unsuccessful. It debunks erroneous beliefs and common-sense viewpoints about starting and growing businesses, and it provides practical and tried-and-true advice on how to expand these enterprises. Businesses have a higher chance of survival if we dispel the myth of the entrepreneur and adopt a turnkey approach to starting a business. In his more than 2 decades of experience working with small business owners, Michael Gerber has earned a reputation as a renowned business consultant. In the words of Gerber, at least 40% of them will be forced to close their doors. Even if they survive their first year, more than 80% of them, or 800,000 businesses, will have failed within 5 years, according to the Small Business Administration. If you own a small business that has made it past year 5, don't take a deep breath and consider yourself successful. In fact, more than 80% of small businesses that survive the first 5 years go out of business in the following 5. What causes the vast majority of small businesses to fail? What exactly are we not learning about running a successful business, despite the abundance of current information available? Gerber contends that the turnkey approach is the key to success. The turnkey approach demonstrates how to apply franchising lessons to any business, regardless of whether or not it is a franchise business. Consequently, if you want to beat the odds and start a small business that will survive beyond its infancy and adolescence while also hopefully maturing into its adult prime, this book is exactly what you need. We'll go over the E-Myth and why we need to embrace more than one personality in the world of business in a brief discussion, as well as why we must approach our company as if it were a franchise from the very beginning. This book teaches you how to work on your business rather than in it, which is a valuable lesson to take away. Getting to the bottom of the E-Myth. Assume you're a typical entrepreneur. What image comes to mind when you think about it? A Herculean figure, standing alone, bravely defying insurmountable odds, and realizing their dream of starting their own business is more than likely to be depicted. Such individuals do exist, but they are extremely rare. Gerber estimates that only a handful of the more than 1,000 people he met and worked with over the course of 2 decades were true entrepreneurs, particularly when they were just starting out. Instead, the majority were technicians, and the majority were exhausted rather than exhilarated by the prospect of starting and running a company. Their vision began to dim, and their excitement for the arduous climb was replaced by a fear of heights. The E-Myth is the mistaken belief that most businesses are started by people who have tangible business skills, when in fact most businesses are started by technicians, who know little about running a business, writes our author. Too many businesses are started by technicians who have not acquired the fundamental business skills or knowledge, and who believe that business acumen is a minor component of the overall business equation, says Gerber. As a result, most fail. Examine the person who starts a business to better understand the E-Myth and the underlying misunderstanding of what is really going on. Let's get to know Sarah. Sarah is a world-class barista who has decided to open a coffee shop of her own in her hometown. Nevertheless, after a year, her initial excitement has been replaced with exhaustion. She is no longer just the barista, responsible for the technical aspects of coffee preparation. She holds the positions of CEO, CFO, CMO, and a slew of other C's and O's. She is responsible for determining how to obtain customers, keeping track of and managing finances, developing advertising materials, responding to customer requests and complaints, developing a business strategy, and a slew of other tasks. We don't all start out as successful businessmen and entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs. Rather, we begin as technicians, who are experts in a single field. And if all we know is how to do a single job, such as how to make a good cup of coffee, our company will be in serious trouble. If you are currently the owner of a business, where were you prior to starting your business? In addition, if you're thinking about starting a business, where are you right now? If you're like the majority of people, you were previously employed by someone else. What were you doing at the time? It's likely that you were working on a technical project. Imagine being a baker, hairdresser, mechanic, bookkeeping clerk, computer programmer, doctor, or writer in addition to your other jobs. Something was going on in your life. Whatever you were doing, it was likely technical work, and you were probably very good at it. You, on the other hand, were doing it for someone else. It was then that something unexpected happened one day for no apparent reason. You experienced what Gerber refers to as an entrepreneurial seizure. You were struck by a brainwave that inspired you to become your own boss, and your life would never be the same. What was it that sparked this brief synaptic leap of faith to start a business in the first place? Anything could have been the cause. The fact that you received a smaller paycheck than you had hoped for at the end of the month, or a sideways glance from your boss, could have triggered your dissatisfaction. It makes no difference what the reasons are. Despite this, you were suddenly struck with the idea of starting your own business on one particular day. Your internal monologue went something like this: "For what am I doing this? What am I doing here working for this guy? I know just as much about this business as he does, and if it weren't for me, he wouldn't be able to run his own enterprise. Any dummy can run a business, and I'm currently employed by one such individual." In the throes of your entrepreneurial seizure, you fell victim to the most disastrous assumption anyone can make when starting a business. You assume that everything would work out. It's the underlying assumption made by every technician who decides to go into business for himself or herself. According to Gerber, it is an assumption that charts the course of a business from the time of its inception to the time of its liquidation the moment it is made. The fatal assumption is that if you understand the technical work of a business, you will also understand the business that performs the technical work. This is simply not true. The reason that this assumption is fatal is that it simply isn't true in this case. Having excellent technical abilities does not imply that we understand how to run a business. And this is something that many technicians who start their own businesses fail to recognize. As a result, Sarah decides to open a coffee shop. The baker decides to open a bakery. A beauty salon is opened by the hairdresser. A barbershop is established by the barber. The doctor decides to go into private practice. They all believe that because they understand the technical work of the business, they are eminently qualified to run a company that performs that type of work as well. When technicians make this assumption, tragedy strikes because their expertise in performing their job suddenly becomes limited to just one single task that they are capable of performing. In order to be successful, we must develop expertise in a wide range of other skills. Just because we possess technical expertise does not imply that we will automatically be successful in business. However, this does not imply that we should give up on the project. Debunking the E-myth can assist us in realizing that, while we may not all begin our careers as true entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship is a skill that can be learned. As a starting point, we can get to know one another, as well as our three business personalities. Understand thyself as well as thy three personalities. Meet and embrace the three business personalities you will encounter: the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. The entrepreneur is the part of us that has a vision and plans for the future. In the workplace, the manager establishes order and workflow, whereas the technician performs the actual work, which is referred to as technical work. Each personality has its own set of advantages and disadvantages, and each of us is better suited to one than the other. There would be no innovation if it weren't for the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are people who live in the future rather than the past. They're the ones who daydream. They have the kind of imagination that causes things to change. Having a creative personality is a great asset. At its best, it takes into account all of the possible outcomes. The downside is that our entrepreneurial selves live in an abstract world and are the least pragmatic of personalities, which can cause havoc and chaos in their pursuit of new opportunities. Entrepreneurial personalities are idealistic and idealistic, while managerial personalities are pragmatic and pragmatic. Whereas entrepreneurs see opportunities, managers invariably see problems. Where entrepreneurs see products or services, managers invariably see problems, and where entrepreneurs see products or services, managers put them in rows. The managerial personality brings planning, order, and predictability to the business, and without the manager, the business simply would not function. As a result, the technician is often skeptical of the entrepreneur's lofty ideas. If you want it done right, do it yourself, the technician's credo says. While the entrepreneur lives in the future and the manager lives in the past, the technician lives in the present. As long as technicians are working, they are happy. Because most of us who start a business are technicians who have transitioned into business owners, we tend to lose sight of the various roles we must play. In order to run a successful business, we must sometimes relinquish our primary technical role and instead focus on high-level thinking while also effectively managing the day-to-day operations. Make a clear statement about your primary goal. Before starting a new business, the first questions to ask are, what kind of life do we want to live? How much money do we want, and how much time do we want to work? These questions can help us clarify how we should set up our business in order to achieve our personal goals and objectives. It's critical to ensure that our businesses work for us rather than the other way around. As Gerber says, if your business depends on you, you don't own a business, you have a job. If a job is what we want, then we must learn how to separate ourselves from our businesses. It is essential that our small business is built on systems rather than on the efforts of a single individual, and this is where the franchise model comes into play, as explained below. Come and be a part of the turnkey revolution. Turnkey business refers to the process of setting up your company so that it has systems and processes in place for consistent, effective, and orderly ways of conducting business. This doesn't mean that people aren't important, but rather that systems and processes are in place so that anyone can learn and become familiar with them. With the turnkey approach, you're not working to sell products, you're working to sell businesses. Turnkey businesses are built so that owners, in theory, can give the key to their business to anyone and that person will be able to run the business successfully right away. Turnkey businesses are built so that owners, in principle, can give the key to their business to anyone and that person will be able to run the business successfully right away. The franchise model not only frees you from the day-to-day operations of your business, but it also increases the likelihood that your business will succeed in the long run. While 80% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years, 75% of business format franchises succeed. How to acquire the keys to the turnkey approach? In this environment, the philosophy is to design systems that will get work done while also training people to operate those systems in order to achieve consistent results. You can thank Ray Kroc for that, if you are a fan of the McDonald's hamburger. In 1952, Kroc launched the McDonald's franchise, which was the beginning of the turnkey revolution. Kroc was obsessed with systems, and he created processes that anyone could follow. His goal was to create a hamburger stand that produced a precisely replicable hamburger for each customer. The creation of the way we do it here documents and the subsequent proprietary operating systems ensure that tasks are always performed consistently, regardless of who is carrying them out. These measures ensure best practices are upheld, and create predictable experiences that customers can rely on when they buy from a franchise. If you're starting out with a single store, ask yourself, what is my unique value for the customer? If you're a baker, perhaps your unique value is baking the best cakes in town. However, because you're turnkey savvy, your goal isn't just to bake the best cakes in town, it's to build systems and hire other people to bake the best cakes in town. So create an incredibly detailed manual for how to train employees to bake and replicate those delicious cakes in your store. Take a look ahead 5 years and ask yourself, what size do I see my business growing to in the next 5 years? And what roles do I need to fill within that business? Then think about how you can develop systems and processes that will gradually replace you, and how you can assist others in performing these duties, reliably and to the highest standards possible. The goal here is to develop systems that will allow ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results, and at any point in time, you can simply smile and hand over the keys to the organization. Finally, I'd like to say, there's a lot that goes into running a business, and because we're good technicians, we may not have an in-depth understanding of what it takes to be a successful business owner. The sooner we accept this and adapt, the better. Our small businesses can thrive if we can guide them through their adolescence and help them become the statistical anomaly that succeeds. We can begin by clarifying our personal goal, and then build our businesses in a way that achieves this goal. We can embrace our different business personalities, and provide our small businesses with a path to success. Gerber's classic book is available online. So, can your company function without you? And, if not, how can you set up your company in such a way that it can function without you? Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.